Morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m. It's May 9th, Friday. Welcome to my channel. Markets had a nice big move yesterday, but then gave it back, right? Essentially closing where they opened. Okay. Now, this just goes right up with the way this market's been acting. You think the move's going to be big, then it takes it all back, right? And then this morning you got some Fed speak. Trump's already speaking, Vicent's already speaking, and just whipsawing the market in the last hour's candle. You can see it's very clear. That's like a whipsaw, and that's what's going on. And there's a lot of Fed speak today. And then you have China and America meeting in Switzerland to looks if they can come up with a deal over the weekend. Obviously, over the weekend, whatever happens will affect the market open on Sunday. The futures at 6 p.m. Eastern. So that's a wait and see. That's a wait and see. Now on my front yesterday, I had a very frustrating day yesterday. Um, Real quick, I can show you this chart and what I did yesterday. That was very annoying. Hold on a sec here. Let's see, SPY. Okay. So here on the SPY, I got the move I wanted. All right. I waited all day and I said, if this comes down here and see this flip point here, this gamma flip point, and this is the settlement from the previous day, right? But we got down here. Also, this week to date VWAP was here, and the month to date VWAP, and there was another anchor VWAP there. I can show you that in a bit. Came down there and I was like, oh, this is perfect. I got long like right here, like 562, and then this is not even. Let's go to 5-minute candles here, so just so I can show you. The yesterday's price action. So let me go to yesterday. Okay, I got long, like I said, right in here, and you don't really even see it here in the 5-minute candle, but it literally, I think it does here. Look, it went up, and I was like, yes, it went down, and it was just because what was happening was Trump was talking. Trump was talking. It was just boom, boom, boom. And I was like, it went all the way up, and I think I was in here, and I was like, nice, it should move up now. And then boom, came all the way back down, and I was like, you know what? This is really volatile. Even though I think it's gonna go up, I'm like, I would be really upset if it hit my stop loss was somewhere down here. So I said, you know what? Let me wait and cut it. So I cut it at break even, and I said, you know what? Let me wait and see if there's a better entry. Maybe it dips down. Well, I said, well, let me wait. And then this happened, and I was like, okay, all right, we're right at the previous day's highs. And I was like, all right, let me. And then I just, boom, it just took off, and I'm like, oh, it would have hit my target, all my targets in a monster trade, right? Well, then later in the day, I said, and again, this is let's go to 5-minute here from yesterday. Let's just look at it. So then later on the day, I said the internals, really quick, let me show you that. The internals were so strong. Look at the internals right here, right? After the morning weakness, it ripped up, right? And it's just strong internals. And I said, you know what? I know what's going to happen. There's going to be a pullback, and you're going to get a chance to go long. And I usually don't trade in the afternoon, but I saw this in the Qs, and right here, I got long. Let's see this consolidation here. I got long right here, right at last week's highs, right? And yeah, right here. And this market started to push up right here, and I was like, okay, should break these highs, should start to move up, right? So I have a rule. Once I get, I think it moved about, yeah, it was up here. That's right. Look, it was almost in this move. Big candle, right? In this move, all the way up here. My entry was 491. It got up to 492.20, right? Now my new rule, what I've been doing is once it gets up to a 1-to-1, so once I got $1, I moved it to break even, which was right here. Or it might have been like a couple pennies above 491, right? And then look what happens. Boom. That little thing hit me out by a couple pennies, and then it moved up all the way to here. Actually, still wouldn't have hit my target. My target was like high day. Still wouldn't have got hit. So that's what I'm trying to do in my risk management. So basically, on this move in the SPY, I caught like this move up. You can see the candle's high was here, and I was like, nice, it should push up higher. And then it was just so volatile that I said, you know what? I'm gonna be mad if this hits my stop loss. Let me cut it. I wouldn't change what I did here. It's just frustrating to see that trade then explode because that's what I was expecting. And then here, right, I just get nipped out by a couple pennies. We push up. There was some news that I forget what he said or somebody said that pushed the markets higher, and then it just ripped down. So I came off the day with like $0. And at one point, I had a nice chunk of change in both of these trades. But that's just trading. That's just how it is. If anybody trades, it's very frustrating sometimes because you're like, I was up a decent amount and I have to stick with this execution strategy because at the end of the day, your risk to reward is all that matters. Okay, your risk to reward is all that matters. If I would have taken off the trade, I could have took it off, right? I could have got the 100% return, 120% return, and I could have been like, good, I'm off, I'm out, right? But that's not how I'm going to trade because I want to pay for my losers. And so when I back tested and did a little back testing, you can have certain drawdowns or whatever, but then as soon as you have those full targets hit, they just take care of the losses. And this has kind of been my week. Actually, the previous day, I'm a slightly green, and I had a couple trades that were very green, but I'm doing my execution strategy. So I'm just giving you that little insight here. Without further ado, let's just get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and buying profile to find structure in the markets along with the buying demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. Along with anchor view ops, I should say that, and my market internals. That's my bread and butter. And my edge is back. I'm reading the markets like a spy, like a sniper. This last couple weeks, I really back in my zone of really looking at the markets and really hitting trades. Even if the execution, like I get nipped out by a break even or something, that's fine. I'm just reading the market right now, so that's what's important, and that's the bright spot. Okay. Now every day I do this. All right. In the mornings, give you the market story, the lowdown, the market news, the economic calendar, right? Leaders and laggards, and we go into daily charts, of course, and the triple-headed monster, your bond, your VIX, your dollar, and then we look at the ES and the Nasdaq futures analysis. Okay, and I give you long and short trade scenarios, and hopefully you could see those plans. Now, yesterday that plan came out. I talked about the pullback that I wanted to see, and I got it right there on a silver platter. It just happened to be Trump was talking, and I was all about staying in that trade until it just was like high, low, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and watch this thing rip my stop loss. Maybe I could have entered with a softer stop, but that's all right. You can second guess everything in trading. I'm trying not to do that because then you start getting emotional, right? I don't want to get emotional. So, without further ado, let's get right into watch list here. Enough of my little soliloquy there. All right, what's moving markets today? Huh? Like, that's got to be wrong. I don't know why that says that percentage is like that much. That's can't be right. But anyway, Bitcoin over 103,000. All right, maybe that is right. That can't be right. No, 206. No, 2,000,000%. I don't think that's right. But then you got Ethereum up 10.12. So crypto world looking pretty nice this morning. The crude that's still haunting me over the weekend. Sunday night, I was all about getting long on crude around 55 or something like that. And that is haunting me now. That was worth the risk, and I should have took it. Gold up 1%. 10-year yield back up. Silver's up 0.44, Nasdaq up 0.31, ES up 0.23, Dow up 0.14, Russell pretty much flat. The dollar is down 0.26. 30-year bonds being sold. The VIX is down 1%. We're at 22 VIX. All right. So let's move on. Mag 7 Plus here. Who's leading the pack? That is your Tesla. Broadcom. All right, Tesla's up almost a percent. Broadcom up 0.92. Meta's up 0.75. AMD up 0.63. Eli Lilly up 0.62. Boeing up 0.58. All right, then we get into the bottom of the list here. Microsoft up 0.13. Google's up 0.07. JP Morgan up 0.02, which is not. Netflix flat. And who's the loser today? Coinbase down 1.53%. They did report earnings yesterday, so I'm assuming they weren't the best. All right, even because that's a Bitcoin proxy, and that should be usually up because it follows barely Bitcoin. But the earnings came out, so there must have been something sour with those earnings. Okay, moving on to the sectors, the guts of the market. That's where I get my info for the market internals. And crude energy, is up 1.15, followed by semis. Remember, semis up usually is risk on. That is up 0.85, followed by technology up 0.27. All right, now a bunch of the laggards. There's really not a laggard here. They're all pretty much flat. So that's what's going on today. Right now we're at the really horrible location in futures. We're almost pretty much at the midpoint of yesterday's session. So not a good location to be in. Okay. And usually that tends to be a choppy. Okay. Let's move on to the economic calendar and some news. All right. Here we are. This is just a slew of Fed speak. Okay. Fed Williams, Fed Barr is speaking. Fed Kugler is going to about to speak. Goolsby, Fed Waller, Fed Williams. That's really all that the market's going to care about because the rest are after the market close. Okay. Moving on to news. Let's see. Usually this site updates some stocks. If they don't, oh, here we go. All right. Had some earnings yesterday. Affirm stock fell 6.2 after the buy now pay later. Firm's outlook for the fourth quarter and full fiscal year 25 failed to impress. Expedia stock slumped 10% after the online travel booking platform missed Wall Street estimates. Pinterest stock soared 12% after the image sharing company provided a strong quarterly revenue forecast, which allayed investor jitters. Coinbase, there we go. Stock fell 1.4% after the crypto exchange sequentially weaker first quarter earnings as falling cryptocurrency prices during the quarter led to less trading. Wolfspeed stock slumped 20% after the tech company was downgraded by both JP Morgan and Citi to underweight sell. Wow. Boeing stock rose 0.7 after UBS raised its target price on the aircraft manufacturer, setting a stronger free cash flow outlook and improved clarity on tariffs. Lyft stock gained 11% after Goldman Sachs upgraded its stance on the ride-hailing. Trade Desk had earnings. Stock jumped 14% after the ad firm posted first quarter revenue and profit above Wall Street estimates. All right. Let's move on to more news. Okay. NVIDIA modifies H20 chip for China to overcome U.S. export controls. Focus, Walmart calls, but India garment worker woes, blunt tariff edge. Let's see. IAG orders 71 long-haul jets split between Airbus and Boeing. British Airways owner IAG on Friday unveiled plans to buy 71 long-haul aircraft from Airbus and Boeing. All right. Like I said, I'm going to go through these. There's nothing that's going to stand out. I'm really not going to read. Coinbase, JP Morgan cuts target price to 215 from 276. All right. Let's look at some juice here. We just had a couple of things come out this morning, which made markets go, Trump, 80% tariff on China seems right. It's up to Scott Bessent. All right. Let's look at the risk here. U.S. stocks indicated the third day of gains with strong corporate earnings boosted sentiment ahead of the Trump administration trade talks with China. That's what I just told you. Trump, 80% tariff on China seems right. So that's what's going on this morning. All right. Now, we don't need no breath charts. We saw that yesterday. And that's about it. All right. Moving on. We're going to go to daily charts. All right. We'll move right into daily charts. Then we'll go into the hourly charts of the futures and show you those big levels that I talked about yesterday. All right. So let's go to our daily charts here. See what's really going on in this market. All right. So this market's nuts. Look at these candles. You could just see it in the candles. Why? Because the wicks, right? It's like you go up, you go back down. You go up, you go back down. You go up, you go down. You go up, you go down. It's like this is a doji yesterday. After it looked like, whoa, this is breaking, this is holding last month's highs, last week's highs, and couldn't hold the levels. And then it winded up coming back and closing here in the middle of the session. Okay, where are we at now? 566. We're pretty much, like I said, close to the middle of the session. All right, let's look at futures. Futures, you could see this balanced area, right? Still in this balanced area. We could not find acceptance above this level. All right, so we'll have to see. I'm sure the market was waiting with bated breath about the weekend, about China and US and Switzerland. Okay, let's move on to the Qs. Here's your Qs. Look at the Qs. Hit the 200-day moving average again. It's the 1, 2, 3, fourth time this is coming to the 200-day moving average. Is it gonna break it? Don't know. Right? Just continues to 491. Continues to be resistance. Okay? Right at last week's highs and 200-day moving average. So a lot of confluence there. Along in futures, it's the anchored VWAP for 2025. Okay? So we have to see. And again, bunch of wicks, right? Bunch of wicks. Where are we at now? 489.60. 489.60. We're a little above the midpoint here, but pretty much in the middle of the session. It's just not telling us a lot, right? It's telling us there's a lot of indecision. If this market was super strong, you would have just ripped up yesterday. You didn't. You got this balance area and this resistance of around 202.78, 202.80, 202, yeah, to around that area. It's just been resistance, right? You can see right here. We're right inside yesterday, at the midpoint, okay? Now, like I said, you still have that inverse head and shoulders. We could make a rip up. Now, May is supposed to be seasonally weak, seasonally bearish. It hasn't reared its head yet. Some people are calling for a blow off top like this, and then some people think we're going to go retest down here. And then June will pick back up. That's what some people are saying, right? I don't make predictions. I have no clue. So I only follow what the market's doing, okay? Because there's so much headline risk in this market, all right? Now, moving on, triple-headed monster here. We're looking at the bond market here. Let's do the bond market. So we got the triple-headed monster here. That bond market, that 4.2 yield, remember I showed you guys yesterday, the most traded price of the last 5 years is that level. And there's nothing changing here. Yes, I know it's up today, but this doesn't mean anything. This needs to get out of that wedge. It needs to make a decision here, okay? You can see two moving averages. 20-day moving average is kind of sideways. The 9 is kind of this way. The 50 is starting to, no, the 50-day moving average right there. You can see it's just like turning flat. 200-day moving average, that tells you everything. Flat as could be. So that's all you need to look at, okay? Moving on to your dollar. Your dollar is a little weaker today, right? Broke out yesterday. Pulling back. This might be an opportunity. This might be an opportunity to get long here, right? And clean up this poor structure, maybe get up to 102, 50-day moving average. I'd be looking at that. Now, there's a couple things, UUP, and you can get into the euro. You could go in short euro futures. You can do the USD euro pair in FX. There's a bunch of things you could do to go long on the US dollar. So, we'll have to see. All right, now let's go to that VIX. That's the fear of 30 days out. Fear of 30 days out. Let's look at this. And we're right at last week's lows right now. 100-day moving average right here. Okay, so 100-day moving average. Look at that flat 200-day moving average. 50. So you can see we're just been falling down. And is something going to spark it up? Who knows? Who knows? Okay. Now we're going to look at those key levels real quickly in our ES futures 1 hour charts here. All right, let's zoom out. Pull this down. All right, let's look at it together. Let me get my trusty little marker out. All right, so 57, well, now it turned to 16, but 57.17, let's call it, most traded price of the rolling year, right? What did I tell you guys yesterday? I said we came up resistance. We came up resistance. And I said we need to find acceptance above this level and you can rip. Well, I was long here and it was moving up here. I was like, man, this is going to be a nice trade. And then it didn't work, right? This was prime for a breakout and it didn't happen. Right there. Did not find acceptance. And what did we do? We came back and sold off, right? Now in the ES, look this is where I got long. Market came down to the most traded price and demand right here. Demand, most traded price of the week, and then the anchored VWAP from this low, and the month to date anchored VWAP. Now you can't see that great. So all these, like right here, came down to this VWAP, that VWAP, demand, most traded price of the week, and I was just like, I have to go long here. And like I said, it obviously worked out. You look at an hourly candle, but that's what the story is, okay? Inside this channel, right? So if we get a pullback into demand here, maybe this propels us to go and break out. Remember, you still have 2025 anchor VWAP up here around 57.73. That lines up with the previous, that's a previous monthly level here. Let's see here. Let's go back because that's showing me it's a previous monthly level. Yep, that's a previous monthly level's high, and that level is from April. So April 2nd, that was a high. So that's the highs of April. Or yeah, the highs. Okay. All right. So those are the key levels to look at. All right. Now we also have, let's see what else we have here. Anchor VWAP from the all-time highs. Buyers are back in control from the all-time highs. Okay. So we just have to see here. All right. Let's take this back. Take this back. Let's look at the NASDAQ real quick in the hourly charts here. We will zoom out. Got a big channel here that I've been talking about, right? Big levels to talk about. All right. So as far as this chart, right? Got the channel, right? My multiple touches, right? Pushed back down right here, right to the anchor VWAP from the all-time highs. Okay. Now the big level in the NASDAQ is this anchored VWAP right here. This yellow line is the anchored VWAP from 2025. That again couldn't find acceptance over it, and you could see right there resistance. Again, yesterday, let's get zoomed in here. Okay, so if we're looking at what happened yesterday, right there, could not have found acceptance over that anchored VWAP. Okay, and so now you have your channel, right? So we push down. Now, what could happen here? You're in the middle of this big channel, which is not the best trade location, right? So what could we do here? You got lower high, lower high, lower high. So maybe you go like this, and maybe you get one little boof down to the bottom of this channel, and you can rip up. Don't know. Or you could take this out, pull back, and then go up. And you also got that big monster level of 206.84, which is the most traded price of the rolling year. It's just a bunch of major levels. I just want to keep pointing that out. They're so major. So that's what's going on in the markets, okay? Just wanted to give you that. I hope you guys maybe enjoy that or not. I think it's just, that's I look at those hourly charts all day. Those mean a lot to me because you can really tell from a higher time frame what really is going on. Like you really can step back and look at the structure of the market. Okay, so moving on, let's go to market profile and volume profile analysis. Okay, and like I said, I don't like the location we're in right now at all. Don't like it at all. Here we go. This is the market profile, volume profile analysis. Now you can see we got a bunch of distributions here. All right, in the profile. This is what's great about market profile. Okay, is that I can just look at the profile and it just tells me the story. Oh, all right, we're pretty balanced here. We're in balance, and then look to the left. It looks a little squirrely, but this tells me, all right, we got pretty much even distribution. Excess to the top, kind of excess to the top, excess to the bottom. Okay, where's price? Here. All right, where's value area? The highlighted part for the week, right here. So we're above value right now, but we're still in not a great area. All right, we're just not. All right, so let's look at the recap of yesterday. All right, let's push this out. Okay, so again, I don't want to harp on it, but man, did that hurt because we pushed down right there. That was the move that I wanted. Right where? Most traded price of the week. Month to date VWAP, week to date VWAP was beautiful. It just, Trump had to be friggin' talking. That was annoying. So, bam, all the way up here. Where? Above last week's highs, above the most traded price of the rolling year, 57.17. And it just couldn't push any higher. And then finally, it ripped down and closed right there pretty much by the open. Okay? In a market, not like today, like this market, this should have moved higher. Okay? That should have moved higher. It's just this market is moves on news and then you couldn't. Now, usually when the VPOC like this is accepted higher, that is bullish. Okay? That is bullish. All right? Now, let's look at some levels. Levels aren't hard to find today. Now, if you look at yesterday's highs, all the way up there, 57.41. The lows, 56, calling, I think it's 53. Overnight high, 57.15. Overnight low, 56.65. All right? Very balanced profile in the overnight. That means no edge in this area for me. This is all balanced. This is equilibrium between sellers and buyers. And that, I don't really like that. Doesn't really give me an edge. See, we opened here, got this much long to this much short. You're balanced. Okay, you are balanced. Now, let's go some levels. All right, we have our highs in the supply zone, and which encompasses the most traded price of the rolling year. Okay, you can see we went right into this supply and whipped down off of that news with 80% tariffs on China, what Trump said. Okay, you do have demand zone right here with support of the week to date and month to date anchored VWAP right below it. And your defense for the bulls is your most traded price of the week. All right, that is 56.45. In the 24 hour, it happens to be the most traded price of the month, but I don't go off of that. I go off the real time. I don't say I ignore it. It's still important. Okay. And then, of course, we have our monster support of 5,600. Right here, you can see the bottom of the profile. That has been support in the market. And you lose that, you're going down to your 55.50 most traded price of the month. Okay. This is everything that I'm looking at. Okay, so you can see the most traded price was all the way up here yesterday, and we're not there, right? So it's pretty easy today. All right, pretty easy, and we're gonna get right into scenarios. All right, we're gonna start because bulls are still in control with the bull case. All right, now up here, I do not like this area for being a bull. Okay, and all right, we could talk about this 50. What is it? 58. No, I'm sorry, 56.85. I believe this is. This is the most traded price lead over, and that could find support. You do have a demand zone right next to it. So what I could see, and I'm not saying I would love this at all right, is push into here. Now to get bullish here, I would need to see this, take out the overnight high, pull back, and then you can go higher. I would not love this scenario. Okay. This is going to be tough trucking to get up here, get through this level. Okay. What I do like is something like coming up, pull back, come through that most traded price of the overnight. Now we test this demand. You got your month to day view up, your week to day view up. You could then move from here and try to break this level. And then the pullback from yesterday's lows, right? If we come back, smash you, I'd like a quick move so it's not this big weakness. Come right into this level, bear trap, hold it, and then I think we just move up to here. I don't know if we break out, right? Of course, can we really get weak and go all the way down to this 5600? Yes, if we get down here, we are super weak. I'm not saying I would really love, you might bounce up into here. That's not a trade that I would probably like to take. All right. All right. That is your bull. Now your bear. So this is more set up for a bearish setup right now. Okay. What I would like to see is a push up into this area. Maybe even tap. There's supply up here too. Tap that supply, take out the overnight highs. Then lower high, lower high. You go back into this area, start lower highs. You can really move down, and you should move down into this area. If you take out this demand and week to date VWAP, month to date VWAP, you're going to test 56.45. Okay, bulls need to hold this, but if it breaks, yeah, you're going to go test 5600. Okay, 5600 monster support. Break it, boom, down to 55.50. Don't know if this happens. That's probably all I'm interested in. Okay. Now, everybody, that's it for me today. I'm not gonna have time to do the Nasdaq. I'll have to do the Nasdaq on my own in a little bit. I have to help my daughter with something. So, I hope everybody enjoyed that. All right. Please smash that like button. That would be much appreciated. All right. Now, hopefully, you guys can join me every day. Subscribe, set an alert. I give you the market lowdown in the news, leaders and laggards, all that jazz. And again, I update my Discord. All right, I'm gonna probably start doing some lives in a little bit, but right now, come there. I'll give you what is moving the markets. Okay, so you can find that on my YouTube homepage. Join, and I'll see you guys. All right. So everybody have a great day, have a great weekend, and I'll see everybody back on Monday.